Is AI music ruining Spotify and other music streaming services? It appears to be so. We're going to go through an article, and based off everything they're talking about, things are getting more interesting by the day. So you can see right here, Spotify is full of AI music, and some say it's ruining the platform. And that's definitely true. I've talked about this, that it's crazy how much and how easy it is to release AI music, and it's crazy how much more AI music is being posted on Spotify every day, right? And it says right here, the artists have long criticized Spotify for its meager royalty system. I've talked about this in other videos. And its questionable content moderation practices. Now artists must contend with an entirely different problem. Increased competition from AI-generated tracks, some of which have gained hundreds of thousands of listens, right? And right here you can see, I'm going to skip through this. I'm not going to read the whole article, but there are multiple reports of AI-generated music being recommended to people, sometimes even hundreds of thousands of plays or more. And going down here, there's one, it seemed like, or multiple that this article talks about. The first one it highlights is the band Jet Fuel and Ginger Ales. I went to their Spotify, and there's nothing. You could see. Let me like X this out. Put that away. Okay, there we go. I actually just signed up for Spotify Premium, by the way, in case you're curious. But you can see right here, there's really nothing. Which tells me, and this is very interesting, is Spotify starting to take down artist profiles or artists in general that they think are AI generated. That is very intriguing. That to me is the most interesting thing about this entire video and doing research about it, right? And I'll talk about that a bit later in this video of how that could be a big sign for what's to come, right? But continuing on, that band, Jet Fuel and Ginger Ales, has earned the verified artist badge on Spotify, which is easy to do. You can do that in 2 seconds on DistroKid. They have about 500,000 monthly listeners, or they used to, as you can see. And Redditors are convinced that the band is AI generated. There's like a post here. You can see that the music is AI generated. There's a bunch of it on Spotify. You know, the tone of it, all this kind of stuff. Like, it's crazy how a lot of people are just going on Suno or Udio, making songs and releasing it, right? And I've talked about this in a bunch of videos. I've showed you how to do this, right, with AI music. It's not the only band. Groups like Awake Past 3 and Gutter Grinders have hundreds of thousands of monthly listeners on the app, and some are often often share some suspicious traits in terms of the artists among themselves. The uncanny valley vocals, the plain Jane branding of their logo, and a dearth of biographical information. So the uncanny valley vocals to me is the biggest one, right? I've talked about this before, that if something is so close to being human but it's not, it almost appears more frightening or scary. The weird thing though is with Awake Past 3 and Gutter Grinders, boom. Let me access out again. Nothing. Good song, by the way. I'm a fan of the new Linkin Park singer. I know it's a huge controversy right now, but I like her voice. Anyway, nothing here and nothing here as well. So what this is telling me is it seems like with these 3, I'm going to use the word notable artists. These 3 artists seem to get or have gotten a lot of attention for being like, wait a minute, this doesn't really seem like it's a human, right? With all the different contexts. So is Spotify now taking down AI artists? It seems like it is. Granted, there's a bajillion of them out there, right? This is mine, actually, while we're talking about this. I made this one. This is the Infinite Lamb Chop. I've not had my stuff taken down yet. Granted, I'm not getting hundreds of thousands of plays, right? I mean, this is more something I did for fun, just kind of test out the logistics and maybe even the efficacy. Like, can you actually release AI music? The answer is yes. But I'm getting 47 monthly listeners. I mean, you know. And granted, this picture I think is aggressively AI too. That's also generated by AI, right? And, you know, you can see right here that going down here, one singer, Sophia Pitcher, managed to rack up huge streaming numbers between, you know, let's say December of 2023, March 2024, and Pitcher doesn't exist, according to an investigation, right? And now Spotify did not really provide answers about this, you know, in terms of all of them. They haven't really talked about this. I did a video basically talking about, can you release AI music on Spotify? The answer seemed to be yes when doing all my research. I also wonder too, if I was in Spotify's shoes, if maybe they're like, hey, we don't know. Because we can't say, yes, you can release it. Because if you say yes, that opens up the floodgates. But you also can't really say no because then there's this dilemma of like, well, how do you know what actually is AI music or not? And there could be some tricks you could use on Suno and Udio's part, but even still, it's like there are some human-made songs I've listened to that were worse than AI music, right? And it's like, how do I not know that actually a human may have released it? And it gets flagged as almost like a false positive, as being like, oh, this is definitely AI music, when it's actually not AI music, right? And the Spotify CEO said in a rare BBC interview, this is September of 2023, so this was a year ago, at least at the time of this video, that the app has no plans to ban AI music. But it seems like they are, right? Looking at this, it seems like they are. Very tough to say. Now, for the rest of the article, they talk about other ways people have taken advantage of Spotify. And this is, I hate to say it, always been kind of the case. I mean, this is the same thing with YouTube, pretty much any platform where you can upload something, I don't want to say for free, but for the most part, with DistroKid being, $23 a year, it is essentially free or very, very inexpensive. And this has always been the case. Like I said, with YouTube, Spotify, some other platforms where you can try to make something quick, upload it, and try to game the system to make a lot of money, right? And, there's been a lot of cases of people uploading like white noise for sleeping to Spotify, or uploading sounds that are above 30 seconds, because above that, you can still kind of make money from it. And yeah, with Spotify, you basically make like a third of a cent per stream. But for some people, they say, hey, you know what? That can add up. If I keep uploading a ton, that passive income might start to roll in. And if I keep that ball rolling, and there's a lot of cases of people taking advantage of Spotify. And nothing's ever perfect, right? And I'll give Spotify credit where credit's due. Spotify has tried to crack down on that, especially people. There's a news story that kind of just recently happened where someone made, I think it was like $10 million kind of gaming the Spotify algorithm with all these different artists, but they also then kind of created and hired bots, which is a whole other thing. I think that's why they got in actual legal trouble by hiring bots to kind of like then boost all their streams and everything. So there's always people trying to game the Spotify algorithm. That being said, bring this back now to AI music. I think what's happening, I'm being honest, and I have to be very direct here, because I have had a lot of comments on this channel of people saying, hey, Mark, I'm an AI artist. I upload on Spotify. I create music with AI. And I think what's tricky is, and again, I have to be honest, I think a lot of people are doing this just to make money, right? There are some people who use Suno for fun. There are some people who use Udio for fun. There are some people who use it as a production tool. Now, and I've talked about this before in other videos and showed you how to do it, you can download the stems from both Suno and Udio from that track you just made. So as from a producer's perspective, it is a good tool, right? And Spotify does encourage AI tools. They say that's completely fine. They have mentioned that. A lot of other platforms say, hey, if you're producing and you're using a tool like Melodyne, I don't know if I call that complete AI, but kind of, to like say do auto pitch adjustment, that's fine. Things like auto-tune, or using AI as a tool in your toolkit, but not the end-all be-all for the whole production or the whole song, that seems to be fine. And it is for the most part. But for a lot of people right now, they're not just using AI tools as a tool in their toolkit, or AI in general as a tool. They're using it to make a full-on song and upload it. And I hate to say it, I think make money, because it is so easy right now, right? I know it's the same thing, very, very similar parallel to YouTube, where, a lot of people are trying to make faceless channels. This has always been a big thing on YouTube, like how to make 10K a month without ever showing your face on a video there's been a million videos about that, right? And I think what's interesting about this is, one, it seems like, not that it's hit the fan or, now we're at a stopping point, but it seems like now, before it's kind of like, and I think it still is, the Wild West of uploading music, and is AI or human? Tough to say. This seems like, to me, the first start or first breadcrumb of there's starting to be some policies in place about AI music. Because one, more people are talking about it now than ever before on Reddit, and when it comes to word of mouth. I guarantee this gets brought up a lot on Spotify's maybe board meetings and stuff like that. It's like, shoot, what do we do about AI music? Like, what do we do? Because we can't say you can upload it, because it opens up the floodgates to everybody to do it. But at the same time, we can't really say you can't, because then how do we police of what's actually an AI song or not? And these three artist cases that I showed you and the article brought up, it was pretty obvious. But to some artists, it's not. And also, too, I hate to say it, I think the only reason why these artists got kind of taken down, which is what it seems like what happened, is because they got so many streams, right? My artist, artist, the Infinite Lamb Chop is AI. Everything's made by AI. The album artwork, the profile picture, all the songs are made by AI. I've not got my stuff taken down yet. And I know for most people, they haven't yet either, but maybe it's because they're not on this level where people are saying, hey, this seems fishy. Look at all these streams, right? So it does maybe seem like that if you try to get really big with AI music and you do, maybe it's almost like you become that glaring evidence of like, wait a minute, okay. They're getting way too many streams, and there's nothing about them. It's clearly AI, especially when you listen to the vocals. All right, they almost just call themselves out. Boom, now they're gonna be taken down or whatever, right? But it does seem like Spotify is starting to take action, and I've mentioned this in other videos too. There have been a lot of reports as well of people like kind of demonstrating like, hey, in the past week, when Spotify posts their radar saying, hey, here are the weekly songs, or in the past week, here are the songs that you definitely got to check out that are new or interesting. Here's the ones that we picked. There was one person who kind of demonstrated through a bunch of research that about half those songs were made with AI music generators. And that's where things really start to get tricky, because then a lot of musicians, and I get this perspective too, of course, as a musician, a lot of musicians are saying, well, shoot, like, why spend all this time on this album or this or that when I can just go to Suno, make an album in minutes and release it and potentially make even more money or whatever than spending maybe a year on that same album and maybe it coming out worse from a musical perspective. And it's frustrating, I think, for a lot of human artists, and this is the same for a lot of other industries, that AI is now taking over. You know, I just took, for example, or like a few months ago, I took a Waymo, which is a self-driving car here in LA. I know it exists in Phoenix, Arizona, and other parts of the United States. It's getting more popular. And Waymo, essentially, is a self-driving car rideshare app. Similar to Uber, similar to Lyft. You get in the car, it does everything for you. And I know a lot of rideshare drivers, and understandably so, are now starting to say, oh, shoot, this Waymo thing is kind of picking up steam. People don't have to tip the car. People don't have to worry about talking to a driver. I know some people sometimes when they get in Uber or Lyft are like, I'm just going to go on my phone. I really want to have a conversation, right? So that is a clear case of AI taking over, or starting to, one industry, right? And this is the case for a lot of other industries. So this is just one of them. But the big thing for me, the biggest takeaway from this article and looking at like, especially those artist profiles, is it seems like now there's pushback. It seems like now that Spotify is starting to be like, hey, okay. These three ones, maybe more, but in this case, three very clear examples. These are not it. We're going to take them down, because Spotify, I think at the end of the day, if I had to guess, I think Spotify, if they had to give a statement, this is my guess. This is only a theory. This is just my personal opinion. I think Spotify would probably say, hey, you know what? Sorry, we discourage AI music. We'd rather human-made music. I think that's probably what they would honestly say as a policy. The issue is, how do you police it? I think it's, one of those things like on paper sounds great. Hey, no AI music on Spotify. But in practicality, how do you not know? Like, take someone using aggressive auto-tune in their vocals, and like say it does sound a bit uncanny valley-ish, and I've heard some human-made songs that do sound a bit like that. Are you going to take it down because it might be a false positive? It might say, hey, this is definitely AI. And it's like, no, it's actually not AI. And now this artist who just spent all this time working on that song gets discouraged and is pissed off because they're like, shoot, why did I just get taken down? This is not AI. This is me. Like, I'm a human. Maybe Spotify might start to have some type of unique human verification. But then again, I'm a human and I released the Infinite Lamb Chop, the AI artist. If they ask me for human verification, I can be like, hey, this is me. I'm the Infinite Lamb Chop. But then how do you determine, oh, well, I actually made these AI songs? Or no, actually, I made them in Ableton, where they want, and I'm making this up, screenshots of your Ableton project, right? I mean, again, we're going deep down the rabbit hole, but this just kind of shows how tricky this situation is right now. And these are just three examples. There are tons of artists releasing AI-generated music and AI music in general consistently now, because it's so easy and quick to do. And I'm going to be honest, like I said, a lot of them, I think, are doing it not just for fun, not just as an experiment, but just to make money. Because you're like, hey, I can do this in 2 seconds, have music uploaded in 2 seconds. I make money. I make passive income. It's a magic bullet for financial gain. And I think that with that mindset, it does then start to take away from, and again, this is the nature of AI, it does start to kind of take away then from the actual human musicians who spent so much time, their blood, sweat, and tears to make an album, a single, whatever, that release, and it does start to take away from them. And that's already happening as we speak. And I think it will continue to happen. Again, what is the solution? I don't know. But based off this article, one, there's now more attention than ever on this subject, which means I think something has to be said by Spotify or these other platforms. It seems like now staying quiet is just kind of like not the move. I think basically now they can't just stay quiet. Before it's kind of vague. Like, yeah, some people are doing it, some people are not, whatever. Now it's very prominent. So I think they can't just stay quiet forever. At some point, I think it's almost inevitable they are going to make a statement and maybe put some new policy in place. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I think especially for right now, at least at the time of this video, this is going to continue to happen. But I think one interesting, if I call it this, light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to AI music are those three artists. There is now action being taken. Even though Spotify might not outwardly say it, they maybe want to keep it under wraps. Maybe they don't want to, maybe they are not happy about this article with the fact that they're like, hey, even though the article didn't mention this, maybe they got taken down after the article, which could have happened. Actually, I think that is what happened because the article did not mention these three artist accounts being taken down. So maybe Spotify's like, all right, without telling anybody, if we know an artist is definitely AI, we're going to take down their accounts. That is a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel saying, okay, there is now some pushback. How is it going to happen in the future? When is it going to happen? What is the logistics behind that pushback? Tough to say. But when it comes to AI music, this is the first time I've seen, based off this evidence, like I showed you, that some entities, like Spotify, are now giving pushback against AI music.